Hey, good people. Dr. Mack here. Hey, listen, I wanted to briefly talk to you all about something that is very, very, very important. It's called check your character. Check your character. Yes, I said it. Because did you not know there are so many people, particularly those who are in leadership, regardless if it's in corporate America, in the faith based community, or somebody other's community, in the government and the like, oftentimes we get put in positions. I say we because I am a leader, but I'm not just talking to the leaders, I'm talking to anyone who has an ear to hear. Listen, it's time out for these character issues, particularly those of us who are leading people, because we come and we're representing and we're training up the same foolishness that we're doing. And so, in other words, what I'm saying is we're reproducing character flaws. If I want to take it over to the spiritual side, in First Samuel chapter 16, you know, Samuel was having a conversation with the Lord when Saul, who at one point started off good, right, when he was elected as king, but somewhere down the line, he lost salt, he lost sight, he lost vision, he lost himself because of pride, because he became narcissistic. Um, he just thought that, he was the know all be all king, right? You couldn't tell him nothing. He had a spirit of error. And if you don't know what that means, it basically means that you can't nobody tell you nothing. You think that you know everything. Um, but it turns out Saul didn't know as much as he thought he knew, right? Because he got dethroned from the throne of being a king. And so when it was time to replace him, or should I say, when his seat became available, God had a conversation with Samuel because, Samuel's like, hey, Lord, we need to find somebody else to sit in this seat, right? And so Samuel, he's looking for people, he's looking at the exterior, looking for the people who are all suited and booted, who are all groomed and fleeked, if you will, who got money, probably, right? Who drive real, real nice car, who live in a nice mansion, and things like that. And, he's looking for the people who got clout, and I'm just putting a little emphasis on the story. But at the end of the day, God let him look here and there and everywhere, but he couldn't find nobody, right? You know that song, I searched all over, but I couldn't find nobody. Samuel was one of those people. He searched and he searched and he searched, but he couldn't find anybody, right? No one who was fit for the seat, that is. And so he had an ear to hear what God had to tell him. And so God basically told him, he said, look a here. I got to put my little spin on it. He told Samuel, he said, look, he said, man, look on the outer appearance. He said, but I look at the heart. And the reason why he looks at the heart, because did you not know that character flaws, they are initiated in the heart? Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. And sometimes when people say, well, I ain't speaking, you don't have to necessarily speak to have an abundance in your heart that ain't right, right? Your actions speak louder than your words. Body language, that's why they call it language, because your body does speak its own language. Your facial expressions speak its own language. And what happens is it demonstrates and it exposes the flaws that you have on the inside of your heart. And so if we're not careful, and taking a look at the inner part of us, we will end up going and doing things that are not right. And what we end up doing is we end up training up people that are just like us. And we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to train them to be better than us. We're supposed to lead by example, but unfortunately, we're not leading by example. I'm not just talking to leaders in positions, if you will. I'm talking to parents too, because parents are leaders. Or if you are a parent like one, you could be an aunt, you can be an uncle, if you will. You could be someone who is influential on social media, influential in the government, in the White House, in corporate America, wherever. You can be an entrepreneur. The bottom line is this: you got to check your character, because if you don't check your character, you're going to wreck yourself and you're going to wreck other people, right? And so the reason why I brought this up, because as a leader, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a wife, as a aunt, and as a sister, if you will, as well as a community influential person. It's very, very, very key that I make sure I stay grounded, stay in a place of humility, removing the pride, remaining teachable. It doesn't matter what status quo you have, right? You can have a status quo where you are astute, if you will. You can be one who makes $1 million, a CEO, a CFO, if you will. You still need to check your character, because you never know who's looking at you. You never know who you are influencing, excuse me, because at the end of the day, you will not remain in that seat for the rest of your days. There will come a time, as they do call it, there's a term, right? There's a term for everything. There's a term in our age, there's a term in life, there's a term in a position in corporate America, there's a term in a position in the faith-based community, there's a term in the government, a White House. There is a term. No matter what position you desire or you decide you want to take and sit your butt in a seat, there is a term. That means there is an expiration date. And so you have to train someone up to take your place, or we like to call that passing the baton, right? And sometimes people don't train up other people to pass the baton because they want to remain prideful. They think that they are going to remain in that seat for the rest of their days. But here, listen, let me tell you something. You're sadly mistaken, right? And so it's always good to check your character, because when you check your character, it puts you in a place first called, you are learning to become humble. You are adopting humility. And you cannot, if those who lack humility will never check their character. Instead, they will always point the finger at someone else, right? They will always gaslight, always be narcissistic, and and so on and so forth. But when you are one who is intentional in pointing your character, because excuse me, checking your character, because you are demonstrating humility, you are demonstrating one who has attributes of being or becoming a good leader, because you don't want to lead people the wrong way. Instead, you want to lead people by good example. You want to be a good influence, right? Because you never know who's watching you. Did you not know that you can mentor people from afar? They don't have to sit right up under you. They don't have to sit at a table at a seat right across from you, or even on a Zoom call, or whatever online application you have in order to teach or to mentor someone. You can mentor someone um, from afar, right? You can mentor someone from afar, but it is up to you and how you think, how you respond, and how you do things the way that they're supposed to be doing, so that you can train up others for a better tomorrow. We cannot get mad at the next generation when we see them acting out, when we have been bad examples. Part of us being bad examples is because we have not checked our character, right? And so wanted to just address some of the things really quickly when it comes to our addressing character. Is a person, good character traits, excuse me, is a person who is adaptable. You can recommend a strategy to someone without getting in your feelings and without always looking for the credit, right? You can help navigate them, in other words, right? You are a person who's good about celebrating other people's success, and taking the light off of yourself and putting it onto someone else. You are committed to long-term goals. And yes, while we may be seated in a seat for a period of time, the long-term goal is for you to help train up to someone else so that you can pass that seat onto them while you navigate and go somewhere else and to continue to be successful, right? Another good character trait is to be confident, not cocky, not prideful, but confident. We have to learn to be confident in what we're doing, why we're doing, to whom we're doing it with, and being confident in what is placed before us, the good deed, if you will, or the vision and the mission that we are confident in. We're going to execute it not by ourselves, but with other people. Right? We also have to be consistent. When we lack consistency, that's a poor character trait. We have to be courageous, right? We have to be courageous. And that's the only way that we can be successful in what we're doing and also become successful in helping others to achieve what they need to be. Here's another big one, leader, listen up. We got to be drama free. I've seen so many people with poor character traits because they're dramatic. They're just so dramatic. I don't do drama. I don't do shenanigans. I don't do buffoonery, nor do I do witchery, right? So that is a character trait that we want to really pay attention to. Embrace change. When you don't embrace change and you're not flexible, right, to this thing called life, then you will find yourself, um, yeah, you'll find yourself that the inner part of you will begin to manifest, and not in a good way, meaning you will not be influential anymore. We have to be empathetic. We have to be socially interactive, um, and not be so secluded and withdrawn. We have to be fair. We have to be flexible. Yes, we have to be hard workers. We have to be in control of our emotions and our actions. I've seen so many people who say that they're influential, but when something goes wrong or goes left, or we say life be life, and so what ends up happening is their emotions get out of control. And do you not know people pay attention to that? That's a flaw. That's a character flaw. You got to deal with the inner part of you when it comes to your emotional instability, or I like to say emotional disharmony, right? Something that we got to pay attention to and look forward to. We got to learn from our mistakes. A lot of people don't want to learn from their mistakes. And what happens is they continue to repeat the same mistakes. That's a character flaw that we have to check, right? We got to check it before it wrecks us. And we have to learn how to manage stress effectively. If you look at things these days, post COVID. I'm not even gonna blame it on COVID. It just what it did was just cause people to manifest on a whole nother level. It basically unveiled what was hidden. Right, when we talk about stress, there's so much stress is on an all-time high. And what happens is you got people who are so stressed out, they don't know how to manage their stress, but they refuse to go sit on somebody's couch so they can learn how to manage it so they can become well. Right, and you call yourself influential. Check yourself, check your character, right? Um, we also have to be learn to be optimistic, prioritize our wealth, our health, and our well-being. That's a character flaw when we don't take care of ourselves. I know it sounds a little weird, but it is. It's a character flaw. That means you don't care nothing about yourself. And if you have children or if you have people that are supposed to be your successors, if you are an entrepreneur, how are you going to train them up effectively if you have a character flaw where you don't want to take care of yourself? Boo, get yourself together and check your character, right? The last thing I wanted to say is this: we have to be very integral. This is a big, 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 big one. We have to be integral with whatever we do, everything that we do, especially dealing with our finances, our credit. Yes, don't stop lying. Stop trying to claim Buki in them on your taxes, and they're not even related to you. That's a character flaw. Check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? And the last thing I wanted to say is that the last few things is being reliable, being resilient, being self-aware, and self-disciplined. Those are a few. I have a whole list, but for the interest of time, I just wanted to bring those things to your attention. Um, so I wanted to just, make you aware that we got to check our character. We got to check our character. Look in the mirror. Stop looking in the mirror expecting to see somebody else. You looking for a different outcome. Ain't gonna be no different outcome. The only different outcome you're gonna see in that mirror is if your hairstyle is different and you dress differently. Outside of that, it's the same old you. So do yourself a favor, check your character. If you need some help, be okay with partnering with someone that will hold you accountable. Accountability counts. It does. It helps you to deal with the inner you. It helps you to overcome the issues with the inner you. It helps you to address things that are hidden that you can't see, but other people can see, right? And most importantly, it helps you to become whole. It helps you to become mentally healthy and emotionally stable, right? You need a coach, get one, and get one soon. Get somebody to hold you accountable so that you can respond the way that you need to respond, so that your character will speak for you in a good way, because your character will take you to places where your mouth won't. Think on that one. All righty. Take care of yourself. And I said again, do yourself a favor and check your character. This is Dr. Mack. I'm building lives, one life at a time. Truth and transparency talk. I'll talk soon.